What's up? Are you doing anything? We're just chilling.
Nah, man, I'm too drunk. So we got fantasy this week.
Fantasy football week number 8.
Week
That's
8.
That's halfway through.
And as I said last week, we're starting to see a little separation in my division. And you were saying, oh, it's just one game and 2 games between the top. But it's starting. It's happening.
So what's the standings now in your league? Let's do that
Okay,
first.
you want to do standings?
Yeah.
Okay, so when we look at standings, Christian, my beloved, is 6-2, alone in first place. And we have 4 teams at 5-3. We have 3 at 4-4, and then 3 at 3-5.
Oh, that's a massive
And
amount of
then
separation.
1 and 7. Well, in this league, if 2 weeks ago, I think 10 of the 12 all had the same. So now you're really starting these guys that are at 3 and 5. That's they got to do something. Now this week we had a few.
Well, hang
few
on.
good
Let's do
games.
the standings in the other league first.
Oh, you want to do the standings? Okay,
Yeah.
all
So
right.
in the professional league, we have one team at 7-1. We have a team at 6-2. So you guys have nobody at 7-1, right? Y'all just you have one person.
Who's at 7-1 in your league?
Steve Smith.
Has he ever won the championship?
Like a boss.
Has he won the championship before?
I don't know. He's a Sith Lord. He can do whatever he wants.
At Grace.
At Grace.
You did. Okay, all right. Okay.
Tied with Ryan.
Oh, it was a
so
tie.
it's a tie, not quite.
I don't know.
Back
All
before
right.
we did
So anyway, he's at 7-1. Mr. Pendergraph is at 6-2 by himself in second, and then we have 4 teams 5-3,
Second.
1 team 4, and then a bunch of 3-loss teams. So we have quite a few people that are still there, but it's going to be hard to get to the top with Steve only having 1 loss.
How
Yeah.
much did Mike lose by?
We'll get to that in a moment.
So-
Easy,
How many
simmer
stars
down.
did Steve lose on Sunday?
So, you want to do scores?
Yeah, we can go with the scores
In my league, I was just talking about my game first because there was
because
a couple
that's
of,
all you care about.
Absolutely. I really felt bad because I was playing Scott, and Scott has only won 1 game this year, and it was really a tight game to the last night.
Now, be honest. How long did you feel bad?
I still feel bad about it. I mean, because look, there's only 3 teams in the division that had a better score than him, and I was one of them. So I mean, he had a great week, but it's just that's the.
May the cookie
You know,
crumbles.
certain people would probably cry about such things, but you know, I talked to Scott about it Monday night at my way, and he's like, hey, that's fantasy. I mean, he wasn't like whining and crying that people outscored him and all that stuff, you know. But he had 126.7 points. I had 149.6, and I had Drew Brees on the bench.
Where?
On the bench, 7
Where?
touchdowns, bench.
Okay.
So if I played Breeze and if I played Vereen, I would have ended up with like 180 plus points. So I'm happy with 149 and got the win. We did have a couple. Actually, we didn't have a close game.
No, like I said, the professional
Yeah.
league had all the games of the week.
Yeah.
So if we move on over to that league,
Oh wait, I just have to give my brother. He had 158.7.
that's pretty good.
So. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the highest score of the week.
He had 38 from Eli Manning. 38 from Eli Manning. Let that sink in for a minute. And then Jones with 32,
Yep.
and Gronk with 23, and Snead with 25. I mean, but that's because he had Breeze. So I mean,
Yeah. Right.
I mean,
You got
throw
the
it to him.
double
I mean,
combo,
so
yep.
that was had a great week.
Yep. So I'd say we had maybe 2 game of the week. The first one, the best one, we'll save for the last. But Rob versus Nate in the battle of the 2 pastors. That game
What are
was
their records overall? Do you know?
3-5 and 5-3 now. So Rob is on his, I think he's maybe on a 2-game win streak. Maybe he's got 3 now. Yeah, maybe 3 in a row. And Nate's stalled out at 5 right now. But that was 110.2 to 105. So that was a 5-point game.
Yeah, and Rob said he stayed up, watched the whole thing, and was like sweating it all out.
Yeah, well, he had, I mean, because Nate had Jonathan Stewart, Kobe Fleener, and somebody else in that game. I think he had one more. Oh, Andrew Luck. So in that Monday night game was crazy, and he had all those players. So if Luck throws another touchdown, whatever. I mean, he probably would have won, right? Or Jonathan Stewart would have ran another one in. So that was a pretty close game. But Rob got led by Demaryius Thomas and some other receivers, and Nate just couldn't quite get enough from that last game to get over the top. Nate did have Colston on the bench with 25 points, so that was probably that one hurt. But the game of the week was the grudge match between Steve Smith and Mike Pendergraft.
So let me just, before you get into that, I do want to share, we went to My Way on Monday night, and they give $100 away every week. Well, in theory, every week, if you have the correct score. And if no one wins, it's cumulative. So this week, it was around $1,400 in the pot. Two guys had 23-20. And if, who was it, Kuechly? Somebody.
Yeah, he would have intercepted the ball
intercepts
at the end
that
of
ball at
regulation.
the end, those guys walk away with $700 each. But he dropped it,
And they died.
so they didn't get
They
it.
died a little
and,
inside.
But you know what? I mean, the Panthers right now, let's just talk about the Panthers just for a second. I mean, these guys are having, what's their record?
There's 7-0,
7-0,
right?
And how many undefeated teams are there in the league?
What?
Four.
There's four. Yeah, that's more than
I
you
mean, it's
think.
incredible. But are they that good or not? You know, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, they're
it'll be
bringing
interesting this week when they play Green Bay. I think we'll find out, because Green Bay's coming off losing to Denver.
So in this matchup, who was the winner that you're going to talk about? Who is the winner here?
It was Steve Smith.
Steve Smith.
The Sith Lord.
So do you think that's kind of like Steve Smith's a la Steve Smith and kind of the Panther connection there? You think that was part of it?
Maybe
I
that what it
mean,
was.
like Steve Smith was coming
But
real hard at him, and
it-
like almost like right in his mouth, like punched him right in the mouth. I mean, you know,
He punched him in the mouth?
Yeah.
Maybe so. I think that this game came down to 0.6 points. So Steve Smith won 128.6 to 128. And it basically came down to the end of that Carolina Panther game where Steve had the Carolina defense. Mike, you didn't have anybody right in that game. So you were stuck at 128. And it kept going up, down based on
the defense.
the defense getting a sack or Indianapolis scoring some points. And it came down to whoever was it Kuechly that made the interception, or whoever made that last interception in overtime, gave him 2 points. He was down by 2 points, ended up winning by, he was down by 1.6, ended up winning by.
So how did you feel about that?
What did you scream at the team? Were you awake when it happened? Did you stay up and
I
watch the game?
stayed up and watched the whole game. Yes.
And what did you scream? Can you repeat what you screamed at the
I
TV?
cannot repeat that.
What you screamed at the TV?
I couldn't scream
And
too loud.
Steve,
because
you were already sleeping, right?
I was out.
You were out. You
I was gone.
had already decided that you
I
were
couldn't
good.
scream too loud because Jennifer. I was in the bed watching it. Jennifer was already asleep, so I couldn't get too loud. I would have woke her up, and then not only would I have been mad, but she would have been mad too. And a mad Jennifer is a lot worse than a mad Mike.
Yeah, right. Just ignore the semi truck.
But Steve and I have been here. We've been here at Aviator now for an hour and a half, and we haven't spoke yet.
Nice. All right. So that was the game of the week. I think it's always interesting. Like you said, you had Drew Brees on the bench. The team in our league that had Drew Brees was Charlie Murphy, and he ended up scoring. He was, I think, the highest scorer of the week, obviously, which was 152.9. So almost got as much as Christian.
And he played him without your help, right?
Played him without my help.
Yeah,
He also had Julio Jones with 32, Greg Olsen with 19, and Brandon Marshall with another 20. So he had a massive week.
How many weeks left till the playoffs?
Well, the season ends week 13, right? So there's week 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 5 weeks left. So we're halfway through the season because the championship ends week 16.
Okay.
But we're not halfway through the playoffs. We're past that. So yeah, I think we got maybe 2 more weeks before the byes are over with. You don't have to worry about your
We
people
have
being on bye.
4 teams again or 6?
I don't remember that. I don't know because we had 12 teams this year. Last year we didn't have. They only had 10, so I don't know if it's 6 and 6 or 5. And I'll have to look and see. It might be 6, but it's still close. A lot of people do still have a chance to claw their way into the playoffs, and then who knows what happens from there. So.
All right. So any parting thoughts from the game of the week, guys? Or?
Well, I think next week we should think about, because I think since we are at this point, think about, or we could talk about it now, but think about what's the pick that you wish you could go over and do over again. in your draft? Like, who would you go back and that's that pick that you're like,
I
know what mine is.
I know mine already.
Yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, man. All right, love you.
Jonathan's got some friends. So maybe next week we'll talk about that. Think about that pick that you wish you could have back.
Okay.
Most of mine ended up on Steve's team, so because he picked right in front of me. But
And now most of mine are on injured reserve. So.
Oh, you mean the real injured reserve, or like the one we have in our
Well,
league?
there's not an injured reserve.
yeah, speaking of
Exactly.
whining,
It's
man,
eat up
Yeah,
a
that's right.
roster spot.
you big whiner.
Speaking
You're
of
whining a lot.
that,
Talking about whining.
my bad move, I'll give you a bad move, was I had to drop Philly's D, which is ranked third. Last week when I played Steve because they were on a bye. I picked up Detroit's D, who was playing Kansas City, and they got 0. That may have cost me. But the worst part was I went today to try to pick Philly's D back up, and somebody beat me to it. So now for the rest
Who
of the
was
year,
it, somebody?
I don't remember. Well,
It wasn't me. I
No,
wouldn't
it's
like that.
it's
Okay.
whoever I'm playing this
Did-
week.
Oh,
No
even
way.
better.
Yeah.
Even better.
Did they beat you to it, or was this because
It was because
of
of
waivers. It was
the
because of
waivers? And they
waivers.
had the
They had
Yeah,
a
yeah.
worse
What's
record.
this-
okay, so
Don't whine
I
some more.
vote
Don't whine
that
some
no
more.
waivers in the future. It's ridiculous.
You big
No,
whiner.
waivers
I'm
are okay.
fine.
Waivers are
If
fine.
somebody wants to get up at 5 in the morning and pick, then everybody else shouldn't cry about it. Let that person get up at 5 in the morning.
Hey man, when you wake up, you wake
Oh.
up. You know.
Yeah.
Let that person get up at 5 in the morning. I'm fine with it.
You whine a lot. I'm just saying.
What's your record?
I'm 5 and whatever. I won 3.
Same
in a
as
row.
me?
Probably.
Shut up.
But I've worked hard.
I've worked hard.
Yeah, right. All right. Good to know.
All right.
Peace out,
Peace
guys.
out, bye.
Good week.